Charles Sumner and James O'Brien could win this race. Coming up on the high side, Taylor Stout tries to use the run, and now it is a push from Goodell on Chris Hudson on the bottom. Does he push him the whole way, or does he abandon him? He tries to find the inside. They are going to come together. They're going to come together, and Stout keeps it straight. Taylor Stout will win this race.
We're 3 wide down the front straightaway with a bump draft in the middle.
And that's Cowgill that's getting the bump from Cervantes. Another one joining in. Stanton working together with Greenhoe now and looking to go as far into the corner as they dare. Greenhoe around the outside. Cowgill still with him. Gets fed out just like he fed him out before. And Sinead pokes his nose out, and so does Moraes. Moraes manages to get to the inside, but this is through the 90. They're going to be wheel to wheel as they come up through the S's. This could be a toss-up to either one of them as to who comes out ahead. Back and forth they weave as they climb over the crest, almost banging doors, in fact, and cutting a big hole in the air. And Jean-Marc Tremblay wants to try and find a way through. Instead, he has to play defense as now Bertome makes a go at things. And down into the corner, Moraes is onto the podium as J.R. Williams falls to 4th.
Close behind. He's just going to want to keep everything nice and tight here. Careful through turn 5. That's a little bit, flirting with disaster was B.J. Fulton. Here he comes on the charge.
He's got the speed, but he's around the outside of turn 6, and he takes it. Can he keep it on the track? Yes, he does.
Oh, here comes Karthik Pai on Ove Trangrade.
Down the inside of turn 1, and Trangrade off into the grass. Thankfully keeps it from spinning back across into Miko. Miko has to dodge to avoid, but here he goes. Great exit. He's got the slipstream. Ove's going to defend. Coming down into Charlotte's Web, looking around the outside, breaks deeper into the corner. Can he do it the long way around? Not quite.
Not quite, and Lino's going to have to line this up again, but he is very close. He's not done. He's going to have a look going down to the inside of the museum corner. He's going to have to be later under the binders, too wide.
Couldn't quite get there, and a little puff of smoke as he has to get on the brakes once again, not to run into the back of him.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there. and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an advanced sim racing customer.
It's time to finally wrap up 2022 Season 1, and what a season it's been. Dramatic finishes, big crashes, and fantastic racing have been in plentiful supply. Now we go around one more time to see if Bradley Holly has all his cards adding up to 21 and can hold on to take his first title of the year. That terrible gambling reference tells us the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series is going to Vegas for round 10, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Reese Gardner. With me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is typical of the modern NASCAR venue, 1.5 miles with progressive banking, but that's not all there is to it. Let's check out the track guide to learn more.
Welcome to Sin City and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The sprawling motorsports complex located 20 minutes northeast of the Strip is home to some of the nicest racing facilities in the nation. Known as the Diamond in the Desert, the crown jewel of this facility is the 1.5-mile D-shaped oval constructed in 1996. In 2006, LVMS underwent massive changes, upping the banking in the corners from 12 to 20 degrees and installing progressive banking in the process. The result? One of the most competitive stock car circuits on the iRacing service. Vegas races like a mini restrictor plate track now, with stock cars and trucks alike often spread 2 and 3 wide, several rows deep, several laps into a tire run. The D-shaped front stretch allows for side-by-side racing action to continue down onto the apron as well, and both corners provide equal opportunity to set up a run on the top side or dive down under an opponent on the bottom. Starts and restarts here are especially action-packed, truly one of the most diverse ovals on the iRacing service. In 2018, NASCAR added a second Cup Series date to this track, giving the facility a pair of triple-header weekends with Cup cars, Xfinity, and trucks all competing. Well, that's our look at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's time to roll the dice. Enjoy the show.
Well, Chris, one more time here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The drivers are just doing a practice start here and getting their eye in for what is a pretty challenging track. 1.5 miles super speedway, and the banking up high, 8 degrees higher than down low.
That's right. Super speedway is a great way to put it, Reese, because these drivers are going to be racing very similarly to how they do the bigger super speedways. The draft is going to play a huge role here. Look for 2 and 3 wide racing, and momentum, as is pretty much the case in just about every race for these trucks, is going to be the name of the game here today. You got to keep that momentum up, and even just a quick blip on the throttle could see you get swallowed up and take a couple laps to recover.
And as you can see happening behind the graphic, if there is a mistake from someone at the front of the pack, they'll spin right across the front of everyone else and cause some carnage. My goodness. It's looking quite interesting out there on the circuit. We'll be racing for 85 laps tonight here in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, which is supported by many fantastic sponsors, whom we will now thank. Our broadcast is brought to you first and foremost by Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Well, let's check out the drivers' standings coming into this final round. The form driver of the season has been Bradley Holly, 26 points ahead of Thomas Sink in second place, but it's very close for that second place. Sink and Cervantes, teammates at Waterback back row, only separated by 3 points, and Abner Acosta, he's won the most races this season, 4 to be exact, but his position in the points standings doesn't exactly translate from that because he's had some bad luck, particularly in the first half and middle of the season. And he's got a good buffer back to Austin Hunter in 5th. But if there's dramas for Sink and Cervantes, there's potential for Abner to get up to P2 in the standings, Chris. Regardless, Bradley Holly has the one with the advantage here.
That's right. Bradley Holly's had a pretty much flawless season. Has been the driver to make the least amount of mistakes, and that consistency pays off here as he just about has the championship locked up going into this one.
In terms of the team points, it's no surprise to see that Waterbacks still hold the top 2 spots, and back row racing, that's Thomas Sink and Danny Cervantes, the best out of them. Overdrive Racing, Bradley Holly is the main driver for that team, but they have got this pretty much locked down, haven't they?
Yeah, it's definitely going to come down to those two, and definitely got to give a shout out to the Loud Pedal running in that 3rd spot. A really strong season here to come home in 3rd, and looks like they're on an island there, so that final podium spot should be pretty much theirs.
Certainly should. Of course, the race details for tonight. It's typical for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. 85 laps should take under an hour, assuming only a few cautions. With no spare truck for the drivers, though, they are going to have to be very careful not to damage their trucks too much. Avoid any wrecks out there on that progressive banking. Also, only 24 incidents, so have to keep it clean and avoid getting disqualified. Of course, tyres are going to be the name of the game, but since we seem to be racing at night here, Chris, it means that tyres might not be as big of an issue as they were at previous rounds.
That's right. Las Vegas may be a desert, but at night it cools down quite a bit, so the asphalt would be significantly less hot, which means a slightly better tire wear, and also the trucks, I should say, are going to be going a little bit faster as well.
Yes, well, in my non-American forms of measurement that I use on my end, we seem to have 25-degree air temperature and 26-degree track temperature. I think that translates to about 70, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, as you can see up the top there. So a nice, cool track here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which should allow the drivers to push incredibly hard once they get past the first lap or so, when the tyres are especially cold. Last couple of bits of practice here as the session enters its final minute. Then we can jump into the 5-minute qualifying, where every driver has 2 laps to set their quickest time possible and put themselves as far towards the front of the grid as they can. Also notable to see that in the tri-oval, it is legal to use the apron, so we're going to be seeing quite a few drivers go down there, and they'll have to be careful about how they transition back onto the banking.
Yeah, that can be surprisingly tricky. If you misstep on that transition back up onto the banking, it can really upset the truck. And also, outside of qualifying, if you try that during the race, you also have to be aware of traffic. We'll see here a couple drivers making that move right now, and there they transition up. It's not as abrupt as we saw last week in California. That's a much more significant change but here it can still have some repercussions.
It certainly can. In the last few seconds of the session, we'll be jumping into qualifying very shortly, and as we do, we'd like to give our thanks to one of our major sponsors here at the Global Sim Racing channel, the Majors Garage. Make sure to check them out, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more at majorsgarage.com, or use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. We have a link in the description below that directly applies our special offer. It is time for quick times. Drivers waiting at the end of the pits to get going. We've already got a few drivers out there like Doyle Lawrence, Adam Zemke, Austin Hunter making their way out onto the circuit. We're looking at Danik Momi right now, and switching forward to the number 28 of Ryan Traver, who has had an interesting season. He's certainly been trying his best to work his way up towards the front of the field. Down in 27th in practice, though, so not quite. No, actually, my apologies. He was actually towards the top 10 in practice. My timing got me confused for a second there. As he starts his first lap, he'll be hoping for that top 10 start, and you can see that he is running high up on the highest of the banking, all the way up the top, but oh dear, hasn't exactly translated into a good run for him, just nabbing the wall out of turn 2. So this qualifying run has not got off to a good start for the number 28.
That's right, Reese. And if you want to have the quickest time in qualifying, one thing you definitely don't want to do is hit the wall.
That will give you a 0x incident, which invalidates the lap. Austin Hunter is fastest so far, 31.048, who's seeing times of 30.6 in the draft. And Colton Lane has really made a statement there, putting himself up to second in the number 60. Colton has had a pretty successful run these last couple of rounds. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold on to that here at Las Vegas. Clayton Montgomery's first time in, he goes to P4 and immediately pipped by Doyle Lawrence up to P3 as Adam Zemke goes fastest, the first driver into the 32nd bracket. Good stuff there from Adam, who we know has pace and we know is able to win races in this series, but by and large it hasn't come together for him this season. We'll have a look at Cervantes. Fantastic time from him as well. He won last time out, did Danny Cervantes, and he's carrying that form here into Vegas.
I've always been of the opinion once Danny Cervantes broke through and got to victory lane, we could see the floodgates open up and see him become a dominant force in this series. And looks like so far it's holding true with victory last week and rebounding for a really strong qualifying run here today.
Very strong indeed, but this guy is one we're definitely going to be watching. Abner Acosta in the private label Team Hype number 5 truck, trying his best to work his way forward. Bradley Holly is emerging onto the track as well to start his qualifying run as Ryan Goodall goes to P3. But Abner Acosta is one of the drivers we're going to look out here for to be challenging for the top, running high at the end of his first lap just to get some extra momentum onto the front stretch here. That higher banking certainly doing you a lot of favors in terms of straight line speed. Abner's first lap, a 31.6, while he's gearing up here for this second lap, which is definitely going to be the faster one. Thomas Sink puts his banker in a 31.6 down at the back of the field in 24th. He's another one of the drivers who should be in contention for the top 5 positions here. Let's see what Abner Acosta can do here as he comes through turns 3 and 4, stays down low, goes to the apron, shortens the run to the line. What is this time going to be? A 30.968. That's not quite enough to pip Danny Cervantes to provisional pole, but it's incredibly close. What can Bradley Holly do on his first lap? Well, 31.6 as expected, running high on that first lap. And in the dying moments of the session, he will complete that lap. Let's see what Bradley Holly can do to get his 8th pole of the season. Sorry, his 5th pole of the season. My apologies. Getting the numbers mixed up there. But Holly, a very smooth driver and working his way down to the front stretch here. Will he be able to beat his, what about compatriots? 31.08. My goodness, that is not expected there from Bradley Holly. Only P12 for the championship leader.
Well, you wonder if he's maybe playing it a little more conservatively, just trying to play it safe and get that championship wrapped up.
Yeah, that's very likely. Just going for that conservative run. He knows that he doesn't have to push too hard to keep that lead over Thomas Sink. And the last driver to set a time there was Mark Kalin to put himself into P7 on the grid, which we will go through now. It is Cervantes and Acosta on the front row with Zemke and Ryan Goodall on row 2. That's a great performance there from Mr. Goodall. A lot of potential there for great results for him. Thomas Sink rounds out the top 5. He'll start alongside Jeff Evans. Kalin and Sumner will share the 4th row, and the top 10 rounded out by Colton Lane and Austin Hunter.
Just outside of the top 10 is going to be Brendan Chatley starting 11th with James Stewart at his outside. Your points leader, Bradley Holly, will start 13th on the grid ahead of Doyle Lawrence in row number 7. Then CM Pennington and Nicholas Hunter making up row 8. Joshua Telez and Clayton Montgomery complete row number 9 with Danik Moby and Dalton Geyer rounding out your top 20 starters.
The 71 of Stacey Hunter starts alongside the 7 of Paul Williams on row 11, and it's Barron Hilton and Ryan Traver who go 23rd and 24th, Ricky Barbary and Jim Westerfield. Lucky 13th row for them. Meanwhile, Adam Shane, the last driver to set a qualifying time. Our field is rounded out by Daniel Ailey and Randy Caldwell. We have 29 drivers here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to end off the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series season. And another point about Bradley Holly, we got to remember he is dealing with illness, unfortunately contracting COVID in the previous few weeks, and that has affected his performance a little bit. But we'll see what he can do to try and work his way through the field and try and take victory here today. But Danny Cervantes in the number 25 still riding high from his victory last week.
Yeah, that's definitely got to back up the confidence you get from breaking into victory lane, is to have a pole under your belt right after that. So Danny Cervantes riding high right now at the front of this field, and we'll see if he can translate that into a second consecutive trip to victory lane.
Let's go through the drivers we have on the Zoom feed tonight. We've got 3 of them. Austin Hunter, of course, in the 3-1-2. And he seems to be just pensively, hello, how you going, mate? Looking for a good result here, along with Mark Kalin, who's managed to get into the top 10. It's been a good qualifying performance from him. And of course, Bradley Holly, the Texan, in his lucky shirt. And you see in his face, it's a bit difficult for him to keep the focus here tonight. But we know how good of a driver he is. We know that he will be able to do some great things out there on track. The championship is his to lose at this point, but we focus on the front of the field, the 25 and the 5 behind the pace car, lights off, getting ready to jump into the pits. Only one formation lap at tracks over a mile on the iRacing service. When does Cervantes decide to go? Waiting, and the green flag flies. We're racing one final time here in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. And Cervantes getting a very even start versus Abner Acosta side by side into the opening corner. Let's see what Abner can do to try and gain some momentum on the outside line. And you see that progressive banking is already showing its worth. These drivers are able to run side by side for laps at a time.
That's right. The progressive banking here is absolutely awesome. And I know there's some people that have strong opinions on these 1.5 mile tracks, but I think when it comes to this type of racing, I think Las Vegas is probably one of the better venues for racing here. The way they did the reconfiguration several years ago has turned it into a great racing track.
Well, Abner Acosta had a little bit of a go at Cervantes in the tri-oval, but unfortunately, he's lost a bit of momentum through turns 1 and 2. He'll have to try and gain that back as Jeff Evans makes his way up into 3rd place Great run from the number 41, running a decidedly whiter livery than the last time we saw him. We usually see him in a hot pink machine. And he's going for second as well. He's made his way right up into the top 3, and with the fastest lap to boot. Evans is doing very well here in these opening stages. Those fresh tyres working very well for him. Is the door still open on the inside to get past Acosta? It is. Evans up into second.
Well, a very strong early run here for Jeff Evans in that 41 machine, but Acosta doesn't look like he's done yet. Getting a little bit of a run on the outside, and he may have the advantage here on the high side through 1 and 2. He'll get a great run down the back straightaway.
See how much he can straighten up the exit here. Just try not to feed too much steering into the truck. The tyres will last a bit longer thanks to the cool night conditions, but the drop-off will still be quite intense once you get past that initial stage of heavy grip. Let's see what they can do. Seeing Colton Lane going a little bit higher there in the maroon number 60 machine. He's got Bradley Holly right behind him, who's steadily been working his way forward. Up 4 positions now for the championship leader, as this is looking quite intense now. Proper pack racing here at Vegas, and Acosta giving Cervantes a little bit of a push at the end of the back stretch, but it isn't enough for him to pass Jeff Evans back for second. Acosta now starting to fall back into the rest of the pack. He's got Ryan Goodall down low, and Thomas Sink and Mark Kalin in the Waterback cars right behind him. Actually, 3, probably 4 Waterback cars with Bradley Holly amongst them as well, and Colton Lane working his way forward. This is some fantastic racing here in the opening stages. They run 2x2 down the back stretch.
That's right. As we mentioned in the pre-race show, this is going to race very similarly to a super speedway here at Las Vegas, and so far that's holding true. I think the draft is playing a big role here. We have them 3 wide back there for, I believe, the 4th position.
Oh yeah. Looks like they've just sorted themselves out there. Holly had to check up a little bit down low. Had Ryan Goodall just ahead of him, so they go back to 3 wide. Goodness me. And Holly not getting much assistance from the draft there on the inside, but with the shortest distance around the lap, he's able to keep himself in the rear bumper of Goodall's truck. This is some intense racing going on. We're not even 10 laps into this 85-lap race, and they're racing like they're on the final couple of laps at Daytona as Holly moves up high.
You know, we questioned how Holly was feeling after a poor for him qualifying performance. This is the part of the racing where no matter how terrible you're feeling, the competition and the focus of what you're doing can kind of overcome that. No matter how bad you feel, you get into a groove here driving lap after lap, and when you have a short run like qualifying, sometimes it's hard to get into the zone. But you can see Holly started this race back in 13th, already running up towards the top of the field in the 6th position. So he's worked his way up quickly here, and he looks deadly focused when we had a screenshot on him there.
And Abner Acosta has managed to work his way into the 1st position there, getting on the inside of Danny Cervantes finally, and that's worked out great for him there down on the bottom. Abner Acosta will lead across the line to start lap 10, but Cervantes has a great run on him around the outside. Oh, goodness me, they bang wheels on the way into turn 1. This is getting quite intense between the 2 Chevys up front.
And I think that momentum, it carries Cervantes clear of Acosta as we head down the back straightaway. And that leaves the door open for Jeff Evans to try the inside again. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to pull alongside. But he's got Thomas Sink right to his outside, and now he's going to try the apron. No, Acosta shuts the door, but Cervantes goes from being behind 1 lap to having about a truck length lead the next time around. And look at that, we're about to be 3 wide for second.
Oh boy. Take it easy, everyone. Thomas Sink around the outside of Acosta. He's going to drag Bradley Holly with him. And 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the championship, now in reverse order in the top 3. Waterback once again showing their supremacy in the team game here and the Precision Racing League, and they all move past Acosta down to the bottom. Fantastic flying in formation there from the teammates.
And Holly continuing his gutsy drive in that 184 machine, toughing it out breaking into the podium positions, now going to work on Thomas Sink, his main competition in the championship this season. But Sink now looks to the inside of Cervantes. They're going to be door-to-door here through 3 and 4.
Good move there from Thomas Sink. Can he hold on to the momentum down the front stretch? Shorter line to the start-finish line, taking the apron. But Cervantes once again gets a little bit of extra speed going off the top banking. Sink running a little bit higher now to try and maintain some of that momentum that we talk about so much. Abner Acosta is starting to drop. He's actually gotten passed by Ryan Goodall and is down to 6th now, but the race is on at the front of the field. Of course, Sink and Cervantes will be aware that Holly is the championship leader, and the way the point system works in this series, it's unlikely that they'll be able to overcome that 26-point gap unless Holly retires or something awful happens to him in the midst of this race. But they will still race just as hard as they can for the lead. Cervantes still out in front, but Holly, crucially, moving up to 2nd. Sink is having to defend from Evans.
And I think the draft there with Bradley Holly pushing Cervantes really helped them get clear of Thomas Sink. And now that allows Holly to have singular focus on Cervantes with no distractions from behind, at the moment at least.
The field's starting to spread out just a little more here as we really get into the meat of this first stint. We're going to have 60 laps to go when we cross the line next. And for Bradley Holly, it's going to be a case of trying to line up the move here on Danny Cervantes. Once Bradley Holly gets to the front of the field, he is nigh unstoppable in most circumstances. He's very good at taking care of his tires.
Yeah, Holly does a very great job of managing the race. And he's one of the few drivers I've seen on the iRacing. So, it looks like we've got a caution here, a pile up towards the back of the field. Looks like Ricky Barbary involved.
James Dewar and Paul Williams as well. Goodness me. It actually looks like that was all started by James Dewar just turning in a little late for 1 and 2 and grazing the wall. Ended up collecting Barbary and Williams. We'll get a view of it here on the replay. Up into the wall, Dewar goes, and then, well, once he comes back down, that was all she wrote. Those 3 cars involved in that. Fortunately, everyone else managing to avoid it.
That's one thing, when you get stuck up on the wall like that, it's really hard to get turned away. So you're putting all this input into the wheel to try and break free, and then once you do, you come down pretty abruptly. And I think that's what happened there. He got free of the wall and unfortunately collected Paul Williams and Ricky Barbary once he was able to get away.
Well, no surprise to see that Dewar is in the pit lane with some very heavy damage, but the rest of the field seem to, well, potentially be making moves to stay out. No, actually, they're all going to go into the pit lane. It's only been 17 laps, but that's around the point where the tires really start to drop off in these conditions. So it makes sense that we have the majority of our drivers coming into the lane to get some fresh boots on those trucks. It's all going to be about who executes the pit stops perfectly. Trying to slow down for your pit box is one of the places where all the difference can be made. If a driver overshoots, they will undoubtedly lose at least a second's worth of time. But Cervantes, having taken pole position in the first pit box, he is not going to have many issues there. Already on the revs, and no surprise to see the majority of drivers are taking 4 tires, but oh dear, Cervantes is going to lose the race out of pit road. Moving into the lead of the race now is Nicholas Hunter. He absolutely nailed that stop.
Yeah, I was trying to double check there to see if he took 2 or 4 tires there. That was a very quick stop.
Yeah, actually 34 seconds compared to 39, 40 seconds for everyone else. That's quite the gain there for Nicholas Hunter. He may very well have taken only right side tires. Oh no, actually, yeah, I think there's been a little bit of a mess up there in the 109. He is coming back into the pits. So, unfortunate there for Nicholas Hunter. He won't be classified as leading a lap, but fortunately for him, he'll have all fresh rubber on his car, and will be trying to work his way back through the field. So it's Holly, Evans, Cervantes, Sink, and Lane, your top 5.
You know, we talked about everyone coming down pit road. They may have only had 17 laps in at the time of caution, but those were 17 tough laps. It did not look like anybody was out there saving anything. Very aggressive driving. And another thing to keep in mind here is we're out in the desert. There's a lot of sand and grit that is on this track surface. So these tires can get worn out pretty quick here, especially with how little concern it seemed like everyone was driving with.
Yeah, when you're racing in those cooler conditions, it's very tempting to try and take more out of your tires, but of course you do have to be wary of the geographic location of the track you're racing at. So no surprise to see that literally everyone has come into the lane to get those fresh tires. Lights are off on the pace car. We're going to be getting a restart very shortly to start lap 20 of 85. Ricky Barbary and James Dewar are still down in the pits getting repairs done. They'll be hoping for another caution at some point so they can get back out there and get at least one of their laps back as the green flag flies, and a little bit of a checkup in the midfield there, a little bit of a concertina as Bradley Holly got off to a very even start. But Jeff Evans, a surprise contender for the podium in these early stages. We saw how fantastic his run was on the fresh tyres at the initial start. Let's see if he can pull it off here as Cervantes drafts Holly coming onto the back stretch.
Jeff Evans in the wake of the 184, but now Holly pulls down low to fend off a charge from Cervantes. Cervantes going to follow in his wake now off of turn 4, and they are in line. Oh, we got somebody down on the apron. Looks like Doyle Lawrence was having a big moment there. He's going to give up a ton of spots, but does keep it going the right way.
Yeah, looked like behind Adam Zemke, he got on the power a bit aggressively and lost the rear, but fortunately he has managed to recover it and keep that going. But he is going to fall to the last running spot in the order. But Holly to the lead now on Cervantes. And let's see what the number 184 can do out here in front. Cervantes certainly not wanting to give up that lead very easily right in the draft, as Austin Hunter sets the fastest lap so far in the 3:12. A 30.867. That's still a couple of tenths off what they were running in the draft in practice, but still very quick. As have a look at Evans, followed by Mark Kalin down to the bottom. Cervantes not able to respond. Bradley Holly's going to go high here again to try and gain some of that momentum back and defend that lead, but Evans is going for it.
And now Thomas Sink giving a push to Cervantes. Holly up to block, but that now opens the door for Jeff Evans and Mark Kalin on the inside line. Now, are they going to split the difference here? Looks like they are going to be 3 wide for the lead as we come off at turn number 2.
Oh boy, but Holly is going to be ahead coming into turn 3. Cervantes having to delay his steering input a little to avoid coming down into Holly. He's going to fall back into 3rd, but Jeff Evans is going to lead across the line by an instant of a second. Actually, it looks like Holly was classified ahead by 4 thousandths. That's how close they're racing here at the front of the field as we're on board with Mark Kalin, and he seems to definitely be enjoying himself here with those 2 cars in front of him racing for the lead. It's not the best run off the inside, though. Cervantes falling up into 2nd, but a little bump there from Kalin puts Evans back into the P2 spot.
Yeah, Reese, I consider a race here a couple years ago one of the all-time best races I've ever called on GSRC. And this race so far is looking like it could potentially top that. These guys are absolutely digging here at the front of the field. Holly now decidedly out in front again, but look at Cervantes gets another great run off of turn 2 to the inside of Evans for 2nd spot.
Great stuff there from the 25, and that is almost conclusively 2nd place. He will move ahead of Evans, but Evans dropping down as low as he can. He can't get by Cervantes, though. Cannot get alongside. Goodness me, this racing is intense. way up high is Mark Kalin trying to get a run down the back stretch. He's got Colton Lane to his inside now, and it looks like Thomas Sink might be trying to round him up as well in the number 48.
I didn't even see Colton Lane get up in the picture. Now he's battling for third. This is absurd. He's just came out of nowhere, it seems like.
Yeah, crazy stuff here from Colton Lane. This second phase on the tires is working out very well for the number 60. He's got to be careful not to run the white line like that, though, because that'll very easily unsettle the truck. Let's see what he can do to try and move his way forward and challenge Holly, Cervantes, and Evans. Coming around to start lap 28. And we're starting to get a couple of groups here in the field. Not enough of a gap to be classified as two separate groups on my timing, but basically everyone down to Jim Westerfield is in a group, and then everyone from Daniel Ailey back, the second group now. Abner Acosta has fallen behind Westerfield, actually, now down to P16. So this second phase of the race working out very well for P4 in the championship.
But he is still staying in contact with that front pack. Who knows, maybe if he decided to fall back and bide his time a little bit, because things are just absolutely frantic up at the front of this field.
Yeah, you see Jeff Evans there getting passed around the outside by Colton Lane. And Colton will get a good run off onto the tri-oval up high. They will be side by side coming into turn one. Look at Mark Kalin all the way down to the apron to get alongside Thomas Sink. This is the top 6 drivers, and you could say top 7 with Adam Zemke and the number 57 behind them, all fighting here for the lead of this race. It's been a great run from Zemke.
Zemke qualified third, so you know he's got some pace in that 57 machine. So he could very well be up in the mix here shortly as well.
Bated breath here to see who makes the big moves.
There goes Evans on the inside.
Yeah. There he goes indeed, up to second place, but he isn't getting any help in the draft. Cervantes, meanwhile, having Bradley Holly up ahead of him and getting pushed from behind by Colton Lane. So back into second now for the number 25. And Holly and Cervantes, technically teammates here at Waterback. They will try to work together, but Holly didn't get the best run through the tri-oval. It's going to be Cervantes who leads the way into turn one. The gap was only 0.024 at the line.
Yeah, and Holly left the door wide open there on the tri-oval. Cervantes walked right through. And now it's Colton Lane and Evans for third as Holly goes back to the inside. He is right there on the white line. And they're going to be just about dead even coming off of 4, heading back to the line. And gosh, I'm glad we have computer scoring, because I couldn't tell you who would have been fastest there.
Yeah, me either. It was only 7 thousandths of a second gap at the line, and I'm gonna raise the possibility here that Evans and Holly might start working together. If they can trade positions and work themselves out in the draft, lap after lap, they might be able to get a good gap here on the rest of the field. Evans and Lane still running side by side behind, as there goes Cervantes down to the inside once more across the line. And wow. On my timing, only 33 thousandths of a second the gap for the lead. Mark Kalin on the inside of Thomas Sink, meanwhile, he's moved up into 5th, but not for long. Sink getting the better run down the back stretch, and Cervantes going very low coming into turn 3. Interesting line there.
Yeah, very low approach to the corner for Cervantes. So far working out, but I imagine Holly's going to get a much better run on the outside off the corner. Cervantes down on the apron, but Holly did lead that time by
0.028 to be exact, and he's cleared Cervantes now, running that incredibly high line now that they are past the phase of the tyre stint where they provide the most grip. you'll see more drivers start to go higher and just straighten out their steering a little more, preserve what is left of those tires. Adam Zemke is really getting himself into the mix here in this battle. You see him on the outside of Mark Kalin there in the number 57 Monster Energy truck. He'll have a nice draft from Sink and Lane just up ahead. Will he be able to contend for victory at the end of this race? We've only had one caution so far, and it's looking like this is going to be a quick race.
Yeah, this is a quick and furious race. I'm still a little bit speechless here. I had to catch myself a few laps ago. I realized I've been holding my breath for who knows how many laps, and almost passed out on you here, Reese.
Oh dear, yeah. I'm much the same. I'm just trying my best to focus on what's going on in all areas of this field, because there's racing going on wherever you look. Zemke moving up into 6th, and now he's going to try and line up Jeff Evans here for a move. Let's see what he can do. Coming onto the tri-oval. Still great racing going on further back in the field as well. The fight for 15th, 16th, 17th and 18th. Adam Shane in just behind the number 666 of Daniel Ailey. Doesn't look like the best of runs from CM Pennington up behind him, but have a look at Ryan Goodall, who is way down in terms of positions. He lost out in the pit stops under caution, and he'll be trying to work his way forward as best he can, and it looks like he might be able to complete the move on Pennington, but given the way the racing at this track works, it's going to be a tough job for the number 14.
That's right. Between the fixed setups and the progressive banking, the trucks here are very evenly matched, and that can make passing very frustrating.
Well, it looks like the top 10 have formed into single file running here. Holly, Cervantes, Lane, Sink, Evans, still your top 5. Zemke getting ahead of Kalin and has a couple of truck lengths on him to boot, so he can start focusing forward and trying to work his way back up to his fantastic qualifying position. Ride on board with Austin Hunter. Got Mark Kalin up ahead of him, who maintains the same position he qualified in. How much of a difference will Austin be able to make here, as we're now truly in the middle phase of this race? In just a couple laps time, we will be at half race distance.
Yeah, things are finally settling down here a little bit. And of course, as I say that, Cervantes gets a run on Holly up at the front of the field.
Ever so slight. The top 2 closer than anyone in the top 10 at the moment. Bumper to bumper across the line. And that's Holly going high once again. Cervantes gets the momentum through the mid-corner, but once they get onto the straight, you see Holly is able to draw level with him. But Cervantes is getting a good bit of side draft, I think, from that. And he's able to maintain it in the Domino's number 25 machine. But Holly will still lead the way across the line. It's the gap has been less than a tenth of a second quite a few times here tonight, as the number 7 of Paul Williams comes in for his second stop of the night. Of course, Williams, one of the drivers involved in the crash that brought out the first caution, so he would have focused on getting repairs done when he initially pitted. Unfortunately, he will be on the back foot thanks to this.
That's definitely going to hurt things for him here as this race goes on.
He'll be hoping for another caution to try and get his lap back. He will fall a lap behind everyone else. He has completed his stop 14.9 seconds, and that sounds to me like only right side tyres for Paul Williams II. Meanwhile, Colton Lane is now in 3rd, and he's starting to round up Bradley Holly and Danny Cervantes in those top 2 places. This is a great run from the number 60.
Yeah, the top 3 trucks there are just about nose to tail. Colton Lane now going up a couple lanes, trying to get a run on your top 2. But for Colton, the way his luck has been for the last few seasons, he's had a couple good runs this season, but coming into this had been a bit of a drought for him. So I'm sure another podium finish here would be a pretty good way to end his season.
That it would, but he still has to think about Thomas Sink up behind. Meanwhile, there goes Mark Kalin and Austin Hunter, trying their best to sort out that position, but the hard racing that they've been doing has made them drop off a little bit from the top 6. And that top 6 is compressing lap by lap. This is some very interesting racing going on in the middle phase. If there isn't another caution, they're going to have to start thinking about that tyre preservation as Abner Acosta tries to work his way forward. He's actually done a pretty good job of moving forward. A steady march now up into 11th place, just making his way past Charles Sumner in the Tropicana number 98. Oh, move for the lead meanwhile. Down to the inside goes Danny Cervantes on Bradley Holly. And Holly had to give it a couple of goes. It's turning in for turn 1. Briefly moves back into the lead. And once again, Cervantes is hung out to dry down low. He has no assistance from the draft, has to defend from Colton Lane.
Yeah, now Colton Lane might be hung out on the outside. Oh, they touch doors coming into the tri-oval.
It's going to result in Cervantes potentially moving down to 3rd, possibly 4th, as Thomas Sink pushes Colton Lane. Meanwhile, Joshua Tellez coming in for a green flag pit stop. And Cervantes, yeah, he falls down to 3rd. He's going to have to slot himself back into the line here. Seems now the high line certainly coming into its own.
Man, these guys sure are aggressive when they get back in line after these corners. Evans now in sync, side by side there for the 4th spot. Looks like Sink's going to have the benefit of Zemke giving him a bit of a push.
But Evans running the white line down low, trying to keep himself in contention for that, but it looks like Sink is going to get the best run possible out of the corner, running nice and high. So, at the start of lap 51, it is Holly, Lane, Cervantes, Sink, and Evans top 5. Adam Zemke trying his best to put himself back in contention for a podium position. It's still not over between Mark Kalin and Austin Hunter just behind them as well. Hunter moving to the inside with Kalin running the middle of the track. And Abner Acosta is steadily working his way towards this pack here, getting up the inside of Jim Westerfield to take the final position in the top 10. Now Abner, he's got the draft of everybody up ahead of him. This is going to be an interesting run here from the number 5.
Yeah, he's definitely having to make a charge back to the front, but so far mission accomplished as he continues driving his way back up into the top 10. He'll set his sights now on Brendan Chatley, who's last in this lead pack of trucks right now.
What can Colton Lane do up at the front of the field? Holly is, as I've mentioned before, nigh unstoppable when he gets into the lead of a race. Being able to work his tires, make them last, preserve the truck. Colton still looking for some glory and a turnaround of his luck. He got some of the way there in the last couple of weeks. It would be very good for him if he could cap his season off with a win here at Vegas, but of course, championship leader up ahead of him. Bradley Holly will want to hold on to every point possible. Don't forget you get an extra point for leading the most laps in this series. Further back in the top 10, Mark Kalin getting threatened by Brendan Chatley here. Chatley's another one of those drivers over the course of the season that has steadily found his way in the top 10, and you certainly can't miss his number going all the way across the side of the car. But Abner Acosta won't be looking at that. He'll be looking at the rear bumper as he tries to break his way further into those top 10 places.
And he's closing the gap now, a nose to the inside. We have pit stops up ahead.
Stops. Goodness me. Well, that shows you how difficult and dangerous it is to be running behind drivers who come into the pits. Who have we gotten here? Colton Lane, Thomas Sink, Jeff Evans, Mark Kalin, Adam Zemke, Ryan Goodall, Jim Westerfield, Daniel Ailey, and Danik Momi. And oh dear, seems that the 666 of Ailey overshooting his box. That's cost him valuable time. If we were under caution, it wouldn't have been as big of a problem, but we are under green flag conditions here as Holly, Cervantes, and Hunter come into the lane now. Cervantes had a bit of trouble getting it slowed down there. Meanwhile, staying out, Acosta, Chatley, Shane Sumner. My goodness, this is going to be an interesting sequence of pit stops. The drivers who pitted a lap earlier may have the benefit of the undercut. See what goes on here, but Acosta going very long here and coming straight in. Bradley Holly has exited his box. How are these positions going to be worked out? There's the pack, and they're still at pit speed.
This is going to be a close one here, Reese.
Yeah, Lawrence, Hunter, and Trevor, along with Dalton Gaia, the only cars yet to come in for their second stop. Acosta at a standstill here, and it's very difficult to figure out exactly where everyone is. They're still trying to sort out their positions as Shane, Chatley, and Sumner make their way in. They'll make their way out, rather. Gaia, Lawrence, and Hunter making their way through. So the field's getting sorted out here now with only 27 laps to go. Kalin with the fastest lap, and it is going to be Colton Lane who's managed to get into the lead in the midst of that pit stop cycle.
Yeah, it looks like the undercut's going to come through. And you know what, Reese? I don't know if you felt the same way here, but the racing action has been so great here tonight that green flag pit stops weren't even on my radar. I was so caught up in what was going on track.
Yeah, I was thinking about the possibility, but I was thinking there would be another caution before everyone decided to come in. That hasn't been the case. Bradley Holly, though, he switched on right away, setting the fastest lap behind Colton Lane and wanting to get that lead back to the middle of the racetrack. Just going a little lower to snatch a bit of extra draft. Will he switch down low in the tri-oval? No, he's going to stick to the outside.
And he's going to have the line off into turn number 1. And I thought Jeff Evans was going to go with him, but Evans now goes to the bottom. That could help Colton Lane out as we get back towards turn number 3. Evans may go into business for himself there. No, falls back in line. Now going to ride in the middle, ends up behind Holly, heading off into turn 3. That's also going to allow the 48 of Thomas Sink to maybe reel back into your top 3.
Oh boy. Fresh tires for all of these trucks, and it's that top 5, effective top 5 as Trevor comes into the pits. That's going to move these guys up to battling for second overall. Dalton Gaia still staying out there at the moment, 44 laps on that set of tires. But have a look at that waterback duo of Sink and Kalin trying to line up Evans, Lane, and Holly. Evans getting the run around Lane on the outside. Oh dear.
And once again, Colton seems like the odd man out there, stuck on the bottom. As the rest of the field goes around the top, your outside line, just about nose to tail, but Colton Lane, the Lone Ranger there on the bottom.
Goodness, we just about had an incident that would have brought out a caution, and it's quite the suspicious-looking one here, I have to say. Danik Momi making contact with Randy Caldwell. They're down in the lane at the moment, but they were hit down there, and Caldwell coming around the outside of Momi, who just went hard right into him. I don't know if that's a hardware failure. I think, yes, we should check it out on the replay. Here it is, and oh dear. I don't know what to make of that, Chris.
Well, definitely impressed that it wasn't a caution.
I hear you there. Danik Momi on the inside, and yeah, the wheel just went hard right. Unsure if that was intentional or a hardware failure, but either way, we'll move our way back to the front of the field because Jeff Evans getting up the inside of Bradley Holly and into the lead of the race. This top five have well and truly broken away from the rest of the field. Danny Cervantes, who was fighting for the lead earlier on, has fallen down to 6th. He's in a 4-car pack with Austin Hunter, Zemke, and Joshua Tellez, who was the first of our cars to come in for a second pit stop. 17-lap old tyres there for Tellez, but it's worked out for him. He's jumped into the top 10, up 8 positions. But up here at the front, Bradley Holly not letting Jeff Evans get away.
Not only that, Evans actually led that last time at the line for 1/1000th of a second, so not much of a lead, but that'll still count for the bonus point.
That it will. Is he going to lead across the line? It's going to be pretty much no gap at all between these two drivers. Goodness me, only 0.07 of a second. It was 0.04 of a second last time round. Unfortunately for Evans, he's not going to get any help down there low. So moving a bit further down, letting Holly get in front of him. Well, he can't move up into the line. Those 4 trucks working together very nicely in the draft. Evans a bit on the outside looking in here.
And you have the 60 and the 48 on the outside there getting formed up.
Oh, caution. Goodness me. Stopped on the tri-oval. Oh dear. Brendan Chatley, one of the drivers involved in that. Also the number 88 of Joshua Tellez, who was doing so well just before. That's big damage there for Tellez. That might be a retirement.
I definitely could see the 59 of Chatley was basically the whole back end was bashed in on that machine.
What on earth happened here? It looks like 3 wide out of turn 4 was what triggered it. Chatley on the outside of Ryan Goodall here. Goodall just moves up a bit, makes contact, and the other 2 cars get completely wiped out.
Ooh, that's a hard hit for Chatley. I'd be pretty surprised if that truck's able to continue on.
As would I. It's a big shame for those guys. Battling for positions inside the top 10 after what had been a pretty tough race for them. Unfortunately, that's sometimes what happens when you go 3 wide. And look at this. Everyone's going to come in for their 3rd set of tyres here. Who is going to win the race off pit road with coming up to 16 laps to go when they cross the line right now.
Well, this will be a nice little reset as we go into the closing stages of this one. And as you mentioned, everyone on pit road, this is a chance for a lot of guys to maybe get back up in the mix here. And Reese, this is going to be an interesting 16 laps if the rest of this race is any indication.
Certainly will. The number 35 of Jim Westerfield got a great stop there, only 9.5 seconds, and he's moved into the lead of the race as a result. That's quite the gamble there from Jim Westerfield. Not too sure how it's going to work out for him, but Holly, Evans, Lane, Cervantes, they remain in contention there with Sink and Kalen just behind. Abner Acosta and Adam Zemke will round out the top 10 here as we get ready to go for what may be the final restart of the race and the final restart of 2022 Season 1 here in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. Let's see what Jim Westerfield can do here in the 35 up at the front of the field. He's in very good company.
That he is. Here's looks like it's going to be what, 15 laps or 14 laps to go when we get back around.
Yeah, I think it might be potentially even 13 laps to go, considering we'll have at least one more lap here under pace car conditions. So the top 21 cars, or trucks rather, are still out there circulating. Daniel Ailey, one of many cars down in the pits at the moment, getting some damage repaired. Same can be said for Doyle, Lawrence, Tellez, Chatley, and then we have what seem to be quite the retirements in Caldwell, Momi, Barbary, and James Dewar. Very unfortunate for those drivers, but we still have the majority of our field out there. And Jim Westerfield, well, this could certainly throw a spanner into the works in the battle for victory tonight.
Well, that it could. With not too many laps left and a lot still left to settle up, there's all kinds of different scenarios that might be playing out here.
Westerfield probably just throwing the dice and trying to get himself as far up as possible so that he can potentially get a top 10. Remember, he started down in 26th position. As the field forms up behind the pace car, lights are off, and we shall go racing very soon. So 2 trains of trucks getting ready for a mad dash to the finish here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Bradley Holly's been the main contender for victory throughout this race. Cervantes lost out in the green flag pit stop phase, but crucially, he's there in 5th, and he might be able to work his way back to the lead if he plays his cards right. And it's all about playing cards at high speed here in Vegas. Pace car will jump into the lane. The field falls under the control of Jim Westerfield in the number 35. When does he decide to go? Waiting for it. And away we go. Green flag flies at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the second restart of the night. And Bradley Holly getting a magnificent run there. He's going to try and round up Westerfield round the outside. Gaps forming just outside the top 5, but oh dear, Holly, he's not been able to get by Westerfield. Jeff Evans up the inside and into the lead with the fresh tyres. It's certainly the way to go down low as they're 3 wide for the lead of the race, and for second, the top 4 covered by absolutely nothing. And from the shadows emerges Thomas Sink to get alongside Jim Westerfield. There's a spinner. It looks like Sumner on the tri-oval, but he stays on the grass and we will stay green. Meanwhile, Evans trying his best to hold on to this lead versus Bradley Holly, but he's stuck there on the inside with no one to help him in the draft. Maybe a little bit of side draft down the back stretch. And he gains that momentum coming into the corners here, maybe just a little bit unsettled as they make their way onto the tri-oval again. 11 laps to go here, Chris. This could go any way.
That's right. Colton Lane right now paired up with Evans as Adam Shane a little bit deeper in the field sets the fastest lap here. Now the 41 out in front decidedly on his own. Holly now shoots to the bottom of the track. He's going to try to pull alongside with a good run there. The 60 of Colton Lane going to follow in his wake. But you have the 48 of Sink on the outside sticking with Evans. They're 2x2 up front. No. Evans falls back in line. Now they're going to dip to the bottom. Evans once again tries to get back by Holly with 10 laps to go here. It's now Evans out in front again, but only by about a fender. And we'll see what Holly can do with a run off the corner. Holly falls in line, now peeks to the outside. Evans gives him room. You can see the deadly focus in his eyes there as they're now side by side into turn 3.
Holly knows that he has a championship title in his hands. He's got one hand on the trophy. Evans down to the tri-oval, onto the apron to try and gain any extra distance over the 184 as they're 3 wide for second behind. There was almost contact there between Colton Lane and Thomas Sink, who's lost some momentum. Danny Cervantes almost coming up into him as well. They've still got Westerfield with them, and Abner Acosta now is working his way forward now into 5th place in the number 5. My goodness, what a great run from Abner Acosta right at the end. He is there and fighting for victory with all of these drivers. Holly now down to the tri-oval to start lap 78.
There's 8 laps to go, and legitimately 7 drivers that I think still have a very realistic chance at being able to take a win here. Acosta now to the inside of Kalen for the final podium spot.
Holly.
Holly with
low.
That was a very interesting move off of turn 2.
Trying to stymie the run of Jeff Evans, I think, and he's got about a truck length on him now as they come across the line to start lap 79. It's all on for second place here. Abner Acosta is potentially going to move up into 3rd if he can get by Mark Kalen, but Kalen there in the middle of the road. Just a little bit of extra speed. Are they going to pincer move Jeff Evans? It doesn't look like there's space. Oh, and Colton Lane, he suffered a few dramas. I think he just snatched the wall, and he's falling down the order now outside the top 13. Acosta gets by Mark Kalen just about side by side across the line and into 3rd now for the private label Team Hype number 5. Last season's champion, though the yearly championship went to Bradley Holly. Only 6 laps to go here, and this races like this could make all the difference further on in the year if drivers are interested in fighting for that year-long championship title. What can Jeff Evans do to try and get past Bradley Holly here? He's starting to advance.
And now just 5 laps to go here. Evans going to try the inside once again. He'll have Kalen going with him, and he'll pull ahead.
That's the 312, I think. Yes, Austin Hunter spinning, coming through turns 1 and 2, and it looks like that was started with contact from Baron Hilton on the inside. So, the way things go in this series, we should get a couple of laps under green to finish this off, but we'll check out what happened to Hunter here. Just got hit in the side when Baron Hilton came up the road just a little bit. Outside view of it, Hilton, yeah, just a little bit of understeer in the mid-corner, and Hunter didn't have time to react to it. It's a big shame for him. There's a little bit of drama going on in the pits as well. We saw that contact between Randy Caldwell and Danik Momi before, and Momi, it seems, is being very clear on what happened. He said payback. Caldwell responds, payback for what? So there's a little bit of confusion there. Either way, I think Danik Momi is going to be in quite a bit of trouble with the stewards here at the PRL.
Yeah, that's not looked upon too kindly in this series. So that could end up being a not so great moment there for Danik Momi in the long run.
It's a shame. It's a shame to see that sort of stuff happening because, by and large, the racing has been very clean and very fair in this series. But regardless, we still have a race on our hands, and crucially, it was Evans who led at the line when the caution came out. So he could be in contention here for victory. It's this last lap or so that will be very important for these guys. We might get just a one-lap dash to the finish here to end off 2022 Season 1. Oh boy.
Yeah, this is not settled by any stretch of the imagination. When we see this one go back to green, not only is it not settled, but there could be so many different possibilities of what happens here. I mean, there is just a lot of drivers that are at the front of this field that could have a chance at victory here in the closing laps, and I am here for it.
I'm here for it too. So, lights are still on the pace car as we will now have 2 laps to go. If there's any way that this race could go, Bradley Holly will be trying to work his way into the lead as soon as possible, and it looks like we're going to green-white checkered officially. We're going to have 2 laps to go when the green flag flies. So that's a bit of an extra chance here for Bradley Holly to try and pass Jeff Evans. On the other hand, it also gives Evans an extra chance to defend this lead.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those moments when you want some friends behind you.
Righto. Here we come to the line. The lights will turn off on the pace car, and the field will form up into their 2x2 formation for what we hope is the final time. In fact, it will definitely be the final time. We only get 1 green-white checkered. And we got some news from Nicholas Hunter about that incident with Baron Hilton. Apparently Hunter lost visuals. He runs in virtual reality, so there was a problem with his headset. So he wasn't able to make the move he needed to give Baron Hilton that little bit of extra room.
Well, this would be a great chance to take a deep breath here and, well, prepare for what could be a very crazy finish.
Just before we take the green, I will apologize. I mixed up my hunters. It was Austin Hunter that wrecked to bring out the caution. So Nicholas Hunter, unfortunately, not able to take advantage of that anyway with his hardware failure. Pace car will come into the lane here and Jeff Evans will lead them away. It's green-white checker time here at Vegas, and Evans gets an even start there versus Bradley Holly, who moves immediately down to the inside. Everyone's on fresh tires here. Just about everyone. 16 laps old. See what Holly can do in the draft. He moves to the outside. Abner Acosta to the outside of Cervantes, trying to work his way up into the podium positions. Look at the momentum that Holly carries through the inside of turns 3 and 4. Evans defensive. He'll take the apron through the tri-oval as we get white flag here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. In third place is Mark Kalin. Could he be a surprise contender for victory here? Cervantes and Acosta drafting up to the back of them. Acosta not able to snatch as much of a draft as he wants because Cervantes is drafting Holly, and Evans is going to lead the way here coming into turn 3. It looks like it's going to be the number 41 of Jeff Evans who takes the final race victory of the season, but Bradley Holly finishing second will be crowned your 2022 Season 1 champion. Fantastic racing there to end off the night.
And looks like Mark Kalin's going to be scored in third. I think they were 3 wide for that spot coming to the line.
That was crazy there between Kalin, Acosta and Cervantes. They were only covered by 1/10 of a second. Fantastic racing there, but it will be Kalin who wins out that battle for the third and final spot on the podium, giving Jeff Evans a good old push around, and Evans won't mind at all. The victory is his.
Well, congratulations to Holly and Evans, but what a race we got to witness here tonight. That was start to finish absolutely amazing.
Yeah, awesome racing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to cap off the first season of 2022 in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. Evans begins his well-deserved victory celebrations, a star driver here tonight. We'll step aside very briefly here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we'll run through our unofficial results and interview our top 3.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Well, an interesting final race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to round out 2022 Season 1 in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. Green-white checkered saw it go to Jeff Evans with Bradley Holly only 700ths behind him. Mark Kalin completes the podium. Fantastic drive from him. Also a great drive from Abner Acosta to recover from down in the field. Started well, but will finish well as well. Rounding out the top 5 is Danny Cervantes. Thomas Sink will finish in 6th. Adam Zemke holds on for a 7th place finish. Great result for him. Ryan Goodall in 8th. Meanwhile, Jim Westerfield and Adam Shane making up 17 positions each to round out the top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 was a good run for Clayton Montgomery in the 45 with Baron Hilton behind him. Paul Williams was lucky 13th with Daniel Ailey in 14th position. CN Pennington closed out the top 15 over Ryan Traver. Charles Sumner recovered to finish 17th, while Colton Lane faded back to 18th after getting into the wall there. Austin Hunter had a spin earlier on, came home 19th, with Stacy Hunter completing the top 20.
Dalton Geyer in 21st was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Nicholas Hunter, unfortunately, having to retire with virtual reality issues. He's told us that his VR lost floor tracking, and that's certainly an ignominious way to go out. Doyle Lawrence, one of our many retirees tonight, 19 laps down along with Joshua Tellez. Brendan Chatley, 20 laps down. Danik Momi, well, there's every chance that he might get an extended vacation for what he has confirmed was intentional contact, with Randy Caldwell just behind him. Ricky Barbary and James Dewar, our first 2 retirees of the night, unfortunately involved in the crash that brought out the first caution. Well, let's talk to our top 3 here. The first will be our race winner, Jeff Evans in the number 41. Fantastic run from you, Jeff. Great result. Congratulations from all of us here taking victory here at Las Vegas. It was all about trying to time the draft and make those moves.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's been a long time coming, and I had a run, and just had to take it and kind of hope for the best there.
Yes, indeed. It seems to have all come down to that pack racing here at Las Vegas. That progressive banking really makes it so that side-by-side running is the way of the night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I knew going in it was going to be side-by-side pretty much the entire night, and just kind of, had to be comfortable holding your line and make sure your tires lasted as long as they could and be there at the end.
And when it came down to the green-white checkered, that final caution, did you breathe a sigh of relief?
No, not even a little bit. That was my worst-case scenario. I was happy where I was, kind of to the inside of Brad there, but on the restart, I don't want to say I wasn't too optimistic. There's a lot of stuff that could happen there, whether I spin my tires or Brad gets a good start. So, would rather it played out, but worked out in the end.
That it did, and a great points haul for you in the final round of the season. Do you think you can carry this momentum through to season 2?
That's the plan. I've been pretty consistent. Been running around the top 5 most of the season. So it's nice to finally see one of these through. But yeah, hopefully we can carry it over to season 2 and into the playoffs since I'm locked in.
Well, before we let you go, Jeff, anyone you'd like to thank for your victory tonight?
Definitely want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast every week. Want to thank Phil over at Miracle Flow, and of course the Waterback guys. Put a ton of practice in every week, and obviously run around at the front of the racing, all of us really. So clearly it paid off tonight, and obviously you can see that with the team championship too, which looks like me, Brad, and Mark got beat out by just a couple of points. So fortunate, but I'll take this win as positive. Go from there.
That you shall. Thanks for joining us, Jeff Evans in the number 41. Next up, we have second place on the road, but first place in the championship. Bradley Holly is stood by with Chris Phoebe.
Well, Brad, first off, congratulations on adding another championship to your tally. But even though Victory Lane wasn't for you today, that's got to be the kind of race that you love to be in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was A ton of fun. Didn't have the best qualifying run, but made it kind of fun at the start of the race, and then once we got a couple cautions and was able to mix it up with Jeff and Danny and everybody else up front, it was a ton of fun.
Now I got to ask you, going into that last restart, did it play out kind of the way you expected, or did you have a strategy in mind that didn't quite go your way?
Yeah, that's basically kind of how I anticipated everything to go. With not being able to get the tires hot enough to make the outside lane work a little bit better, I knew I was going to have to either try something crazy or just try to hold it off. And I tried the outside and just couldn't get the run I needed.
Now, with all that said, it looks like the championship is going to be yours here, and just want to give you a moment here to thank whoever you got to for making this season possible for you.
First, I'd like to thank the Waterback guys. We work really hard to try to figure out what our strategies are and what we need to do to be up front and try to get our teammates, whoever in the Waterback crew, to in a victory lane. I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting us week in and week out. You always put on a great show, and everybody in the PRL organization. We try our hardest to make the leagues as fun as possible and try to keep as many drivers coming back.
All right, Brad, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you again next season.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to you, Reese.
Indeed. Actually, looks like Mark Kalin has exited the interview booth. So, no, he's just been brought in. I wasn't looking at Discord. Kalin, my goodness, great run from you from 7th to 3rd and putting yourself in contention for victory early on. The racing was quite intense out there. You had to really play high-speed chess.
Yeah, it was super intense all night long with the basically pack style racing, which I always enjoy that type of racing. It's just it's a little less boring than just running around in circles, if you know what I mean. So really enjoyed it.
How do you usually go at Las Vegas? How many times have you raced here before, and what are your thoughts on the track with its progressive banking?
Honestly, Vegas is just kind of one of those mediocre tracks where sometimes I do good, sometimes I don't. It's just kind of hit or miss with which way it's going to go, and tonight just went really well.
That it did, and it certainly went well for the Waterback team. You guys have been on top form all season, and with those top 2 places in the championship, it's certainly been another season of success for you guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I love seeing that out of the Waterback guys. We do put in a lot of hard work, and I think tonight, especially with all 6 of us pretty much dominating the top 6 spots most of the night. I mean, it was awesome to see all of us up there battling it out, duking it out, passing each other, and at the end there, I put my teammates in a couple of 3-wide positions to try and advance myself further, because at the end of the day we're all still racing for ourselves, but we got to try and give each other some space when we're out there, and tonight it just it all went to plan.
And with that, you should secure your position well within the top 10 in the 2022 Season 1 driver standings. So before we let you go, Mark Kalin, anyone that you'd like to thank for your podium tonight, who got it done for you?
Oh, absolutely. Number one's always going to be the Waterback guys. They've taught me a lot since I started the PC side of NASCAR in iRacing, from where I started to where I am now. Just can't thank them guys enough for working with me, teaching me some stuff, and their hard work towards me. Can't thank you guys enough up in the booth. Y'all put on an awesome show. Myself and the other organizers, we work really hard to make sure that the league is fair and as fun as possible each week. And the owners of the PRL for putting on the league, and just all you fans out there watching. Hope y'all enjoyed the show.
We certainly did. Thanks very much for joining us, Mark Kalin, and hopefully we'll get a couple more opportunities to talk to you next season.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
As are we. Well, Chris, that's going to end off Our broadcasting of 2022 Season 1 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. 2022 Season 2 begins on the 23rd of March, so the drivers will get a well-deserved break here, but certainly teams like Waterback will be hard at it testing for the new season.
That's right. Great chance to reset, but what a note to end things on. That was an absolutely amazing race, and I'm glad we got to call it, and even more glad we got to see it, and looking forward to easing our way into next season here in a couple weeks.
As am I. Fantastic racing all round, pretty much, in the PRL here at Vegas. Before we go, we'd like to thank our sponsors. First off, the Majors Garage here at GSRC, home of free Baseline Plus setups, 24/7 coaching and more. Head to majorsgarage.com and use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. And our series sponsors, Advanced SimRacing. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp page for more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we alluded to, the next race in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series will be on March the 23rd. We're not clear on the schedule just yet, but it's surely going to be a fantastic one. Our next broadcast is going to be PRL Formula 3 and Porsche Cup tomorrow night at 8:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.